Most people never realize how quietly they surrender their lives. They wake up every morning surrounded by noise, distractions, obligations, and expectations, and yet they think they are moving forward. They respond to messages, scroll through endless feeds, nod through conversations, and check boxes on routines that feel important, but none of it nourishes the part of them that actually matters. Every day they allocate energy to people, systems, and things that will never return it, and in the process, they slowly disconnect from themselves. Disappearing doesn't start with leaving the world behind physically, it begins with stepping away mentally, with pausing long enough to hear your own thoughts, to notice how scattered they've become. The first few days feel uncomfortable. Your mind hunts for noise the way a body hunts for sugar. You want to check, to respond, to be seen, to confirm that you exist in someone else's narrative. That craving is not weakness, it is proof that you have been conditioned to seek validation outside of yourself for far too long. The moment you resist it, the moment you choose silence over stimulation, the moment you sit with your own thoughts without trying to escape them, the transformation begins. As the weeks unfold, the silence stops feeling empty and begins to feel sharp. You notice patterns you have never seen before, how often you said yes out of fear, how often you bent your priorities to appease others, how much energy you invested in maintaining appearances rather than creating substance. With every day spent away from distraction, the internal clarity grows. You see the difference between urgency and importance, between attention and fulfillment. Most people mistake being busy for being alive, reacting for progressing, noise for meaning, and in doing so, they lose years without ever noticing. But when you step back, everything changes. Your thoughts align. Decisions become cleaner. Actions are deliberate. You no longer move sideways just to stay comfortable. You move forward with intention, and the strength that comes from that alignment is subtle but undeniable. By the middle of this disappearance, the world begins to fade into irrelevance. Invitations, notifications, opinions, and expectations all lose their weight. You start measuring life differently. Not by reactions or visibility, but by coherence and focus. You stop rehearsing conversations that will never happen, stop performing for an audience that never existed, stop filling silence with meaningless noise. The mind, finally freed from constant interference, begins to settle. Emotions stabilize. Decisions are less reactive and more intuitive. You recognize that most anxiety comes not from life itself but from overstimulation, from too many inputs and too little reflection. Slowly, patience replaces urgency, presence replaces distraction, and awareness replaces obligation. During this time, you also come face to face with your own fears, doubts, and regrets. They are unavoidable because silence magnifies reality. At first, it feels heavy. You feel small, exposed, unprepared. But this confrontation is necessary. The parts of you that were ignored or silenced start to demand attention. Dreams you postponed begin whispering again. Unfinished thoughts, incomplete ideas, and neglected goals resurface. Most people would flee at this stage, seeking comfort in noise, validation, or busywork. But if you remain, if you allow yourself to sit with discomfort without trying to numb it, your resilience grows. You learn to tolerate uncertainty, to withstand boredom, to endure without applause. That endurance quietly builds character, and it becomes a foundation for confidence that cannot be shaken by external chaos. As the months progress, you begin to notice a profound shift in how you relate to life. You no longer seek attention. You no longer chase validation. You stop reacting emotionally to situations that used to consume you. Patterns that once controlled your behavior become transparent. You recognize which battles are worth fighting and which are distractions. Your capacity to focus deepens. Your energy is no longer scattered, but invested. You begin choosing deliberately where to expend effort. This selectivity, once uncomfortable, now feels natural. Boundaries become intuitive. Decisions are informed not by fear or habit, but by clarity and self-respect. By the time you reach the 6th month, the change is undeniable, though quiet. You don't announce it. You don't perform it. You don't explain it. Others may notice it in the way you move, in the way you speak, in the way you respond, or don't respond, to chaos. Your presence carries weight, not because it is loud, but because it is solid. You do not seek approval, validation, or recognition. The stability within yourself makes external affirmation redundant. You have built internal alignment. You have reclaimed your attention, your focus, and your energy. You understand the difference between being visible and being effective, between being busy and being productive, between performing and building. That understanding becomes your secret leverage, your advantage. Your power returning to the world after such a disappearance is transformative, but subtle. Life has not stopped, but your relationship with it has changed. You no longer react impulsively to external stimuli. Opportunities are filtered through a new lens. Relationships are chosen more carefully. Every yes is intentional. Every no is protected. You notice how much time and energy was wasted chasing visibility, fear, or obligation, and you begin to redirect both toward growth and creation. This intentionality is invisible yet palpable. People sense it even if they cannot articulate it. They feel the weight of someone who is grounded, aligned, and unshakable. They notice that you are no longer playing by the same rules, and they cannot ignore it. The power of this disappearance is not the time away itself, but the recalibration it produces. You learn to trust yourself, to listen to your instincts, to make decisions unclouded by noise. You discover that life doesn't demand your reaction to everything, but your presence in what matters. You understand that attention is currency, and that most of it was spent unwisely before. You learn the difference between living for others and living for yourself. You learn the depth of patience, the weight of deliberate action, and the freedom of focus. And you realize that the world does not collapse if you step back, it simply recalibrates itself while you evolve. By the end of this period, you return not as the person who left, but as someone stronger, quieter, sharper, and more deliberate. You no longer chase approval, recognition, or influence. Your energy is protected, your focus unbroken, your mind calm, and your actions intentional. You move with subtle authority because you have built something most people never do, self-possession. You have discovered that absence is not emptiness, but power. That silence is not inactivity, but refinement. That distance from distraction is not isolation, but alignment. 6 months of disappearance does not make you invisible, it makes you whole. It transforms your life quietly, fundamentally, irreversibly, and that change cannot be undone.